All right, well, thank you for listening again. Again, I'm going to just bring to you some words, comments, some things that we've seen on our variety trials. You know, we have the OVT program, but we also do about, this year was about 10 to 11 on-farm trials with these varieties, and just some things that we've seen over this past year that might help. So let's see. You know, what we learned from 23 through 24. I've got 2 years there because there was something interesting there that coincided with both years in relation to planting. And that's that we started off cool and wet. Now, 24 was extremely cold and wet and nonstop, but 23 was no different. And so both of these years have really continued to poke us about we need to keep pushing for high germ and high vigor seed, so good seed quality. Some of that's out of our hands, right? Because the weather that we're dealt before that, the year prior, kind of sets us up because we're producing the same seed where we're growing it. So we got to keep that in mind. It's not just like, you know, it's a variety's fault, or if it's this one company's fault. It's not that. It's just some of us get caught in the wrong situation during that year with a weather event. So just keep that in mind. Both years we've had tomato spotted wilt. Both years we resulted in lower yields on the top side. And I mean in that we had, you know, our irrigated acres had come off a little bit. And both years we've had extended seasons. I know all of these guys are talking about 135 to 145 day maturity. We didn't see many of those last 2 years. We've had to push this crop to 150 to just get something out of it. And a lot of that deals with the weather situation and us trying to make this crop work. And again, the problem is, and I mentioned that, it's nothing like beating a dead horse. We can't do anything about the weather. All we can do is change, make an adjustment, and do the best we can. And so that's kind of where we're at with our situation. This kind of gives you an indication of what we saw these last 2 years. I did a digging date study where they were planted on between May the 5th, May the 4th, somewhere in there. 23 is above, 24 is below, but the first bar is 135 days, the dark blue bar is 145, and then the white is 155. What do you see? Pretty drastic in 23. We had a couple of varieties that, you know, as you went to 155 this past year, it dropped back off. But for the most part, we had to push these varieties a little bit more. And that goes back to this whole, you know, wanting to cut back on certain things. If we cut back or we did not extend another fungicide out on some of these, we would have not made the yield that we did. So keep that in mind as we go forward with, you know, again, adjusting as we need to going through the growing season. So, late maturing, what does that mean? I'm not trying to say that this crop this year will be this way. I'm hoping the hell it is not. I cannot tell you how much I've aged in the last, and this beard shows it, in the last 2 years. Does this also mean that I want you to plant all your acres in April? Well, no, but we got people that think that sometimes. We don't need to put all of our eggs in that one basket. If you put all of them in April and we go through another cool, wet situation, we're going to be replanting quite a bit, and we don't want to do that. So planting a third in April, sure, we're going to be there this year with most of our acres between April to the first week of May. So I do expect that 35% of our acres are going to be planted early, especially if we're 800,000 plus, which we probably will be. So we're going to have to get there. But again, like I mentioned earlier, and I hate to keep harping on it, but we can't plant early without thimet. We need thimet up under this. Even with the one thing that all these varieties bring to us is tomato spotted wilt resistance, but we cannot utilize that to its best ability without using thimet with it. Otherwise, it's just taking something away from us and it's going to potentially hurt us. So let's try to do the best thing we can. Elevated acres means that we've got to really weigh the risk, whether we're short rotation, what does that mean fertility-wise, pest problems, again, I'm not going to stay here too long. Cutting corners to save time does not increase returns. That is 100% true to the bone when we're talking about short rotations. We cannot back up. Using the kitchen sink approach, I've had that thrown at me several times. We can't do that either. We don't need to, and I hate to say it, throw money away either. So we need to really keep in mind the dollar value of every input that we put into this crop. And that's something that I'm saying a lot in our meetings this time. Why is all this important? Yield and quality. Hell, anybody know that, right? Yield and quality. We want it. We need it to be high. But the other thing when we talk about seed, I need it to be high because I want 2026 to have the best seed that we can possibly have. The card has been dealt for this year. Our seed is going to be what it is, and I think it'll be okay. I think our quality is okay. Good. I'd say that. Are we going to have some bumps and bruises? Sure. We're going to have some by the time we finish this crop up, so keep that in mind. It's not a perfect world, but we got to think about everything we put in this crop. How is it going to affect seed next crop? And only about 120,000 acres of our what we plant goes back into seed. So if you are one of those growers, we definitely cannot cut corners in those. And I've heard a couple of growers say, well, just because I get a seed premium doesn't necessarily mean that I put all the money I need to put in it. That is not the right attitude we need to have, unfortunately. So let's try not to do that. I understand. I mean, I do financially. I understand. So I'm not trying to say that. So let's go ahead. Y'all have seen a lot of things related to all these varieties, and we do have quite a few. What can I plant in April? Because that's coming first. All right. This is where I think, based on all of our trials, based on everything that the breeders have brought forth, our tomato spotted wilt risk index, if you wanted to plant early, the dark red bar or the check would be some of the ones I'd be looking for. And I've got a lot of people say, well, I got 06G and I'm going to plant it early. That's fine. Don't get me wrong, that's fine. We need to make sure we do everything we can to minimize the virus, but we're going to have some if the virus is up there. Some of these other ones can help us minimize that impact of the virus, and that's what we want to do. I'm not meaning that we got to plant everything or even all of this one variety if you pick it in April. Spread it out. You also see we've got a few things on the side here. 52N, I really like that as a variety, has done very well in the last year. We just need to push it because, again, the virus. Other than that, I like it. The one thing you heard a little bit about some white mold resistance, some leaf spot, but it's not to a level that I'd say we need to alter our fungicide programs, except for maybe CB7. Other than that, we still got to have a very good fungicide program. Bravo Tail probably is not going to make it for us. T61, again, watch planting late, leaf spot. 09B, again, oh my, that loves disease. It is one of our earlier maturing ones, but it does love disease. So if you plant it, I would be, somewhere middle May, but when it gets ready, you need to be after it. 12Y, late maturing, Rhizoctonia, we mentioned that on that one. 16HO, good high elect, watch planting late. Not that it just defoliates out, but if we get caught again, like we have the last 2 years, and we've extended this out to 150, 155 days holding that one, you're going to lose the leaves on it. So we either got to keep with our fungicide program on out. 18RU, I like that variety. Makes a big peanut. It does well grade-wise and yield-wise, but we've come in to realize that has a sweet spot. If you can't plant it between May the 12th and May 25th, then you're going to have problems. Either tomato spotted wilt early or leaf spot late. So those two, again, if we have to extend that season, you're going to see that. 20VHO, again, another great variety that come out, but the only problem is if you plant it and we have some weather issues or you irrigate the crap out of it, we can lose 10 to 15% of the pods on that one. So just keep that, the peg strength on that one. And then 22 MPR, again, late maturing, so I think we got to line it up, planting it early. I think we've got the tomato spotted wilt resistance with it to do that. So this is just kind of help you out as we move forward. And again, as we talk about the podcast in the near future, we're gonna continue considering all that. This is our tomato spotted wilt survey that we do, 357 fields where the agents went out and rated it. They're supporting everything. 06 is at the top, besides 18 RU, 16%, but HG, 12Y, you know, TIFMV high yield, 14N, Arnie, all of those pretty low. So we're got something to work with, and so that's the one thing that we can kind of keep in our mind there. So again, planting in April, all of this, you know, the variety is one thing, but again, we got to plant high quality seed. Cooler, wetter situations. Let's not get in a situation where we plant right ahead of a lot of rain or try to get out in the field a little bit too early when it's wet. So cool, wet, 68 degrees, watch that moisture. If you're reduced tillage, and I got a lot of people asking to go to reduced tillage, if you've got cover, April is going to be, if we're cool at all, that's going to promote a problem, right? Trying to go ahead and reduce tillage, unless you go on and rip it and clean that area up about 2 to 3 weeks prior, because we've got to heat that soil up. Otherwise, it's going to be cold and it's going to be wet compared to a conventional till. So just keep in mind seed depth, planting speed, all that kind of situation. And with that, like I mentioned before, all about the pod is there for you to get information. We just encourage you to be a part of that. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments.